Week 1, Part 2, 1.1 P1 Plan. Project 1 includes the submission of a group presentation and an individual position paper, both of which will state and support a position that answers the following question. Should Florida decrease funding for the University of South Florida? The first step in any group project is to create a plan that outlines your workflow, as well as the standards and expectations of your group. Your P1 plan will serve as a team contract, because you can use the content you submit to the group in your position paper. You will also want to think through planning for your individual assignment too. But the goal of the P1 plan is to create structure for your group interaction and production. Working with and as a team is a skill and is expected in every job and in our personal relationships. If you've ever survived an escape room, you know the importance of teamwork. As soon as you're locked in the room of friends or strangers, you immediately see who paid attention to the directions and who just starts looking around without a plan. You also see that people gravitate towards roles where the skills match their talents. And if they don't, you're not getting out of that room. Social groups are no different, and you will notice the same relationships appear on social and professional teams, or even within a group of friends trying to plan an outing. Collaboration is a staple of academic work and research. Broad progress requires broad teams that work within and across disciplines, and when group work is part of the course, you are often bonded together through the concrete result of a shared grade, as is the case in some of our Project 1 assignments. In some situations, you can pick your teammates. That is not always the case. More often, group members won't know each other well and won't have experience working together, which means working together will require learning how to work together. Group projects come with varying degrees of direction and often include an assigned topic and goal. But regardless of topic or task, all group work requires communication, usually verbal and written, and usually across multiple platforms. Audience. Arguments, like all communication, need to be tailored to the audience. Clarifying the audience for your presentation is very important because it will inform some approaches and decisions. Whether you are writing a paper, promoting a cause, or raising awareness or funds, you have a message and an audience. The efficacy of a message will depend upon how well your communication has been designed to fit the audience. The audience of your group presentation will be current USF students. While this audience is broad and varied, you know that there are specific things connecting the members. You also know what a number of those things are because you are also a member. Everyone in the group is a USF student, and the subject of the presentation is directly relevant for all members of your audience. As you construct your presentation by developing the content and planning the delivery, select content and delivery elements that will appeal to and impact USF students. As you think through what you know about the defined audience and how your presentation can appeal to members, also think of your other audiences. USF students are your assigned audience, but your peers in your group and your classmates are the direct audience. They are also USF students, but you will come to know more about them through P1, so you can tailor specifically to them. You are also the audience of your classmates, so think of what you would like to see in a presentation and what claims and evidence would impact your perspective on the topic. You also know that your instructor is your main audience in relation to the evaluation of the work. Keep your peers in mind by considering how to make your presentation interesting and engaging, and keep your instructor and your grade in mind by fulfilling the requirements of the assignment and the expectations of university level work. The decisions you make around claims, evidence, images, platforms, and other aspects should all be influenced by what you know about your audience. Thinking of the broad stakeholders beyond USF students who are interested and invested in the topic, and our question will generate other ideas and angles you may want to pursue. If the state legislature were your audience, what claims and content might appeal to the individuals who represent the state of Florida in our House and Senate? If your audience were all Florida voters, what different choices would you make? What if your audience were USF alumni or parents, or current students or high school students in Florida, or Bill Gates or Marco Rubio, or any other specific person, or group of people. As you compile sources that provide evidence to support your claims, remember that your goal is to make a clear and convincing argument to your audience in support of a position. Your audience is defined as one big group of USF students, but it is also made up of individuals with a variety of opinions and perspectives. You could be reinforcing audiences members' current position, changing their minds, or some of each, which is likely with a large audience or multiple audiences. Tailoring any communication to an audience requires broad considerations of context in the rhetorical situation. You want to address you want your audience to understand your position and acknowledge the evidence you present. And ideally you want them to agree with your position statement, but you do not need to try to convince them to act. Action is not the goal of this project, so you are not required to urge them to take any action. You only need to make a strong and convincing case for your position. Planning as a group. The group presentation includes directions and a format for the presentation, but a number of the other elements may be assigned by your instructor or at the discretion of your team. Clarifying these elements early and in writing is important for a successful presentation. Different team members may demonstrate different degrees of commitment and may have different goals and expectations around a grade. Some members may take pride in developing a strong presentation for their audiences and for their own sense of achievement, while other members may not be as driven to construct a strong presentation. Differences in effort and ability exist across all groups and are worth acknowledging and discussing during the project planning. If you are strong in an area and dedicated to the outcome of the work, volunteer to take a leadership role. If you're not able to contribute as much or don't feel confident in some areas, be honest with yourself and your team so that you can work where you are comfortable and capable and contribute to the team without holding back the progress of others or letting your team down by not fulfilling your commitments. To begin, create a P1 plan that addresses the elements listed below. Your team can add any other details or categories that need to be clarified in writing. Consider this a contract that commits your time and effort to each other and sets everyone up for success. Your instructor will provide specific directions on how to compile and complete the contract and any additional elements to include. But this list provides a place to start your P1 plan. Number 1, members' names and a team name every member accepts. Number 2, relevant contact information and plan for communication and collaboration. Individual roles and responsibilities is number 3. Number 4, timeline with dates and what is due for each team member. A link to shared calendar or doc with a timeline. Number 5, format, MLA, APA, other as approved by instructor. Presentation platform, PowerPoint, slides, video, or other as approved by instructor. Link for group grid. Link for group annotated bibliography. A statement of what constitutes unacceptable work and how the team will handle work that does not fulfill the expectation. Statement of how the team will resolve impasses or conflicts and modify the plan is number 10. And number 11, statement of when and how unresolvable issues will be brought to the instructor. Listing the group members is easy and should include a team name that is selected unanimously. Addressing contact information and avenues allows your group to start thinking strategically. You can stay in contact through text messages or social media, but it will be very difficult to find content on those sources after weeks of texts. Additionally, some team members may not be comfortable sharing your cell phone number with people that they don't know. So make sure all members only share information they are comfortable with. Team members who are uncomfortable sharing their phone number might consider creating a Google Voice number for this or other group work. Consider creating a Gmail account just for your project. Doing so will allow you to keep all your classwork and shared assignments in a specific place with a specific purpose, which will become increasingly important. Collaboration methods used for note taking and communication should be clarified immediately and maintained in all communications. Teams, Google Docs, and university email addresses should be used for all official communications as part of group work. You can still share social media contact information, but you will be able to let those spaces stay social. Defining individual roles and responsibilities merges with the creation of a timeline, with due dates and tasks for each team member. To complete this group calendar, which should also be part of the consideration when selecting Google or Teams or any other shared workspace, you will need to preview all the tasks in P1 to find the due dates so that your team can submit and revise work before the final submission date, instead of shoving it together in a big Franken presentation at the last minute. Determining individual roles and responsibilities is important and can be approached in a number of ways. Each team member has to contribute to each task by developing and sharing content related to the assignment, but overall tasks need to be defined and designated. Responsibilities can be designated by activity or by week as aligned with the presentation outline. Alternatively, roles can be related to assignments. Individual members take responsibility for the grid, bib, outline, presentation design, or presentation construction. All team members will be responsible for adding their content to the shared grid and group bib with each activity, but it takes management and clarification to keep everything updated and organized to make sure everything is being included. Timelines and accountability are important. If your instructor doesn't assign a format, consider not only what fields each member of the team will enter, but also what style is easiest. If everyone has worked with MLA, that might be useful to know. Also think about what format each team member will use for the individual position papers. Consider your group as your group selects a platform too. Consider constructing and delivering your group presentation in PowerPoint or Google Slides, because all team members will have access and both facilitate collaboration. Google Slides is available in your Google Drive, and PowerPoint is available through your Canvas app for Office 365. If you use Teams to communicate as a group, maybe stick with PowerPoint, which is also a Microsoft product. Or if you work in a group Google account, Slides is probably your easiest option. Also think through how you will record the presentation. Some options for recording audio in your slideshow include recording slide narration in Microsoft Office or recording a meeting in Microsoft Teams. You can also use other screencasting software, and you can upload to YouTube. There are a number of available resources on YouTube Studio and YouTube Editor. Easily Edit, merging videos in YouTube. Recording on Teams synchronously as you move through slides and take turns talking is a good option. PowerPoint will allow you to add all team members, to the doc and narrate specific slides. Screencasting software is also an option, but will require more work. Your group doesn't need to know how to use all these things to make decisions, but it is worth considering options and discussing who has experience or is interested in taking a leadership role in relation to presentation construction. Your instructor's directions are always the first consideration because you will need to select software and apps that allow you to fulfill the presentation expectations. When you have space to choose, though, think through options and outcomes as a group and individually. The group grid and shared bibliography will be submitted as part of your presentation packet, so starting them now and maintaining them along the way is important. Some required elements of the grid and bib will be defined and assigned as part of the tasks along the way, but you can also add other pieces of information you want to record. The tasks might call for different points, so they can be kept in separate tabs within one grid by activity 2, 3, 4, or by use, context, support, opposition, or however you and your group think is best. But many elements will overlap across assignments, such as formatting. The final statements are important elements of the P1 plan and of all group and team work. A statement of what constitutes unacceptable work makes sure that everyone understands the expectations and prepares for a final product that blends together well. Defining how the team will handle work that does not fulfill expectations helps team members hold each other accountable professionally instead of ignoring problems or reacting in ways that do not resolve the concerns. All relationships experience tension, so a statement on how the team will resolve impasses or conflicts is an important way to think through a method that works for everyone before potential conflicts appear. Finally, attempting to resolve conflict is important, but when the defined methods are deployed but unsuccessful, the team should agree on how the instructor will be informed. It is unlikely that tensions will flare beyond the point of resolution, but it is worth acknowledging the possibility and planning to avoid it if possible and address it if needed. Also, prepare for the realities of updating the plan. When we plan a project, we often don't know all the variables needed to make a concrete plan. As a result, elements of our plan can and should shift in response to the new information. The important part of navigating the shifts is to make sure that they are responsive tweaks, not reactive deviations. When you have more information and need to update or clarify the plan, be sure that everyone on the team is involved in the decision and aware of the update, and avoid any temptation to stray too far from the plan. In addition to serving as a team contract, this is your first opportunity to work together and produce a product that everyone in the group is proud to submit. Clarifying these elements will not only provide you with points for submitting a well prepared P1 plan, it will also serve as a roadmap to successful group presentation and position paper. As a group, discuss any other useful clarifications or considerations in addition to the assignment submission. Remembering experiences you had with other teams or groups is a good way to come up with a list of what you have found does work and does not work. And feel free to talk across teams and share ideas with the other groups and peers. Your team is not competing against other teams for a limited number of available points, so broad collaboration can help everybody. Do not forget that in addition to a group project, each individual will submit a position paper, so it'd be smart to start planning now. You will need to submit your own personal packet for your position paper. So when you include your work in the group grid and shared bib, be sure you are also tracking it in your own space, in your own way, so that you are preparing for your own submission. Any information you bring to your group can be included in the position paper, and the position paper outline builds upon but expands the presentation outline. Working together is a skill and can be learned. Developing the skills needed to work well with others will impact your personal and professional life. Collaboration isn't always easy, but learning to plan and communicate effectively can help. See also these helpful tips. Constructing a solid P1 plan takes time, but doing so will set you and your team up for success the next few months and create an environment where working together can be less stressful and more successful. Assignment 1.2. As a team, complete and submit the following questions for Assignment 1.2. Only one member of the team should submit the assignment. Number 1. Member names and a team name every member accepts. Number 2. Relevant contact information. Number 3. Individual roles and responsibilities. Number 4. Timeline with dates and what is due for each team member, linked to shared calendar or doc with a timeline. Format: APA, MLA, other as approved by the instructor. Presentation platform. Number 6. PowerPoint, slides, video, or others approved by instructor. Number 7. Link for a group grid. Number 8. Link for a group annotated bibliography. Number 9. Statement of what constitutes unacceptable work and how the team will handle work that does not fulfill the expectation. Number 10. Statement of how the team will resolve impasses or conflicts and modify the plan. Number 11. Statement of when and how unresolvable issues will be brought to the instructor.